And I'm not saying allegedly.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying, Sean Carter, you're a piece of shit. Taking Pimp C wasn't bad enough. You just want to go down there and you want to just remove all of the balls from every real gangster in Houston.
Matthew Knowles is about to blow the lid off everything. That's the line that first set social media ablaze. Post flooded in within minutes. DNA doesn't lie, one tweet read, tagging JayZ and adding a side EYE emoji. Instagram reels showing side-by-side photos of JayZ and a 28-year-old Maryland woman named Letitia Mason, whose resemblance to the music mogul was uncanny, began surfacing. And then came the twist. The alleged source of this explosive DNA leak wasn't just some random tabloid. No, this was reportedly coming straight from Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's father. The man who once steered her entire career. The man who also not so coincidentally got iced out and fired as her manager. Now he wants revenge. The streets aren't just talking, they're screaming. No, this part is not alleged. JayZ and his team, they have been ducking and dodging, taking the DN. And if the whispers are true, Matthew isn't just planning to leak DNA results. He's planning to expose JayZ for who he really is, a man who's allegedly been hiding not one but multiple children. Letitia isn't the first name tossed into this scandal. Remember Rye Sedithwaite, the New Jersey man who spent over a decade dragging JayZ's name through every courthouse he could find, pleading for a paternity test just to be ignored and shut down at every turn. Combine that history with Letitia's claim that her family has always known JayZ was her father, that even helped pay for her home in Maryland, and suddenly this doesn't look like a rumor. It looks like a pattern.
Not just about me. If I gotta fight for all of us, I will, but I won't let the court systems just walk over me. I won't let JayZ, I won't let no one just walk over me and tell me something because y'all just saying this. I want the truth. And if we can't go to the Supreme Courts, the regular courts, to find out the truth, what are they here for?
Yeah, all right, we'll get to the legal things that you've been through, the battles.
Behind closed doors, things are already unraveling. Rants, who once saw JayZ as a walking empire, are now combing through morality clauses with surgical precision. Corporate lawyers are reportedly evaluating contracts tied to Roc Nation, Tidal, and every other tentacle of his sprawling business interests. There are whispers that certain bills are on pause, which in corporate speak usually means someone's cleaning up a mess before the press gets wind. What does it look like when a billionaire's foundation starts to crack exactly like this? When your entire empire is built on the image of a loyal family man, husband to Beyonce, father to 3, Blue Ivy room, sir, and suddenly there's a 4th or 5th. That's not just a paternity scandal. His brand self-destruction.
Weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me.
But here's where things get chilling. Some industry veterans aren't just looking at the DNA rumors. They're looking back, way back to the early 2000s, to another moment where whispers swirled, stories were silenced, and lives were lost. We're talking about Aaliyah. Now, this isn't the first time JayZ's name has been tied to Aaliyah in the back channels of music history. They were linked in the late 90s, allegedly dated briefly before she chose Damon Dash, his then partner at Rockefeller. But this goes deeper than heartbreak, deeper than rivalry. What if Aaliyah's untimely plane crash wasn't just a tragic accident? What if, as some are now speculating, it was something far more sinister? A move that cleared the path for a certain rising star from Houston, managed by her very own father, to ascend uncontested.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce.
Some say it's coincidence. Others are pointing to timelines to old Rockefeller travel logs to a plane that was 700 pounds overweight and piloted by a man not licensed to fly that specific aircraft. That pilot, by the way, he was high. Traces of powdery substances in his system according to the inquest. And here's the bombshell. Aaliyah didn't even want to get on that plane. According to a former Bohemian taxi worker whose family worked the singer's transport, Aaliyah was allegedly given a pill by someone in her entourage, knocked out cold, then carried onto the flight while unconscious. When she was found, she was still strapped into her seat, folded over. That's not rumor. That's in the records.
There are people who did short sales on their stocks right after that, made a lot of money, including Sean Carter. Now I'm going to ask you, why would non-disclosure agreements need to be signed for an accident?
So who authorized that flight? Who made the call to switch aircraft last minute? Downsized the plane, rushed the gear, who stood to benefit from Aaliyah's exit just as her film and music careers were about to explode. Some insiders say the questions lead back to Rockefeller, not to Dash. He's the one who publicly mourned her for years, but to others in the circle who may have viewed Aaliyah as an obstacle. She was young, beloved, already a legend, and if she'd lived, there's every chance she would have ruled both music and film. Would there have been room for Beyonce's rise to queen status? That's the uncomfortable question, and it's only growing louder. Let's not forget Jay-Z and Diddy were close then, still are, at least publicly. Their infamous black billionaire brunch from 2020 featured them raising bubbly glasses, the very picture of untouchable wealth. But we've seen where that led Diddy. Raids, lawsuits, scandal after scandal, and now Jay-Z's name has landed in the same court filings mentioned in connection with a disturbing allegation from the year 2000. He denies everything, calls it blackmail, says he won't pay one red penny, but denial doesn't erase the whispers, and it certainly doesn't clean the blood off the runway in the Bahamas.
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact.
Because here's what we're starting to realize. This isn't just about a secret daughter. It's not even about two. It's about the pattern, the cover-ups, the walls of silence that surround these powerful men. Rainier's case, suppressed in court after court, bounced between jurisdictions like a legal hot potato. Letitia's claims never addressed directly, only alluded to in lyrics. Billie Jean in his prime for the 1000th time, The Kid Ain't Mine. Cute rhyme.
How do you know I'm not a gangster? Or used to be a gangster? I've been in the music industry for 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, the industry's filled with gangsters.
Because nobody, not even Jay-Z, is safe when the family you married into decides you're the enemy. And the rumors don't stop there. In fact, some are whispering that the pilot who flew Aaliyah's plane may have had prior connections to industry figures. There's no hard evidence yet, but the idea that Rockefeller's reach extended into the logistics of a doomed flight isn't fading away. Former flight brokers say paperwork around the charter was sketchy. And let's not forget that switch to the smaller, overloaded plane was last minute. Why? Who signed off?
What's up, what's up? This is Beyonce on the red carpet with one of the hottest female artists out here, Miss Aaliyah. How you doing, girl?
It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you. In the weeks before her passing, Aaliyah had reportedly been hanging out at the house Jay-Z and Dash shared. She was comfortable there, part of the circle, and then just like that, gone. Some claimed she was on the verge of telling her story about her past, about the industry, maybe even about who tried to control her. There were already questions about her relationship with R. Kelly, but what if there were others? What if she knew more than anyone realized and someone didn't want that truth to get out? Really a conspiracy.
Really a conspiracy if the same person keeps benefiting off the same kind of tragedy over and over.
Anything to do with it, but when you look at the people involved, the opportunities that followed, and the eerie silence that still surrounds her crash, it makes you wonder who benefited most from Aaliyah's absence. And that brings us back to now to 2025, to a timeline where Jay-Z is under fire from all sides. DNA claims, legal filings, association with scandal plague Diddy, and a fresh wave of accusations dredging up his early 2000s past. The timing isn't lost on anyone. His silence on Diddy has raised eyebrows. His legal team's aggressive stance on Reimer feels increasingly defensive, And then there's Beyonce, the queen, who somehow kept her crown spotless through it all. But what happens when the man standing beside her starts to sink? What happens if Matthew Knowles, the father she once trusted to guard her image, decides to torch the entire legacy in one nuclear press release? If that DNA report goes public, everything changes. But what would drive Matthew Knowles, a seasoned businessman, a father, a man who once engineered one of the most successful pop acts in music history, to even consider detonating a bomb like this? Let's not forget, this isn't just some messy family feud. This is the man who handpicked Jay-Z as the husband for his most prized creation, Beyonce. For years, they projected a united front, and then one day, he was gone. Cut from the management team, frozen out of Parkwood, denied access to the very brand he helped build. Some say he was ousted quietly due to creative differences. Others say he was humiliated, stripped of power, denied credit, treated like a liability. And Jay-Z, well, he didn't just watch it happen. According to insiders, he orchestrated it.
And I'm not saying allegedly.
Oh.
I'm saying, Sean Carter, you're a piece of shit. Taking Pimp C wasn't bad enough. You just want to go down there and you want to just remove all of the balls from every real gangster in Houston.
This DNA bombshell really is coming from Knowles, then we're not looking at some petty grudge. We're looking at a methodical, slow-cooked act of vengeance. A long-suffering father who's been holding his tongue, watching the empire expand, watching Beyonce become a goddess. And Jay-Z bask in the glow, all while knowing he had a secret that could bring it all down. This isn't just revenge, it's legacy reclamation. He was silenced, and now he might be ready to make the world listen. And the money, that's where things go from scandal to scandalous. Rumors are flying that Jay-Z didn't just pay Letitia Mason off with hush money. No 3 former Rockefeller accountants have claimed privately that untraceable royalty streams were diverted from Alia's estate. You heard that right. The whisperers say that when the heat started rising and Letitia's name started to circulate, Jay-Z authorized a shadow transaction. Quiet money that came not from his own bank account, but from what should have been post-Mia royalties tied to Alia's catalog. Testimony about what happened.
If we get to the bottom of Tupac's, when that is finally revealed, 15 other will be revealed with it. And you will find that they were all committed by the same 2 people, father and son.
True, this adds a sickening twist. Not only would that make Jay-Z a man who allegedly hid a daughter for almost 3 decades, it would also make him a man who profited off a deceased woman's name while allegedly erasing her child from existence. There's speculation that those royalty streams, some linked to streaming releases and licensing deals, were deliberately funneled through shell corporations with no traceable paper trail. A legal smoke bomb, but one that might not stay hidden much longer. What's more, a music supervisor who worked on posthumous Alia licensing deals told an unnamed source that every time we tried to finalize usage rights, someone from Rock Nation blocked it, not with paperwork, with silence. The implication that Jay-Z had a vested interest in keeping Alia's estate tied up, not just for business, but to control the narrative. Because if her catalog stayed locked, if the checks stayed delayed, then the people tied to her legacy, maybe even her daughter, if Letitia's claim holds, wouldn't have the leverage to speak.
Testimony about what happened leading up to it need to be covered under a non-disclosure agreement if there wasn't foul play.
Now, mind you, September 11th happened a week later. 9/11 happened a week later. Do you think that took away from it?
Once again.
And let's not pretend this kind of maneuvering is new. Industry insiders have long said Jay-Z's real genius isn't in music, it's in strategy. He's the guy who makes problems vanish, who silences lawsuits, who buys out stories before they see daylight. That's why this Leticia situation is so dangerous. Because if even one of these financial links can be proven, if even one payment can be traced back to Alias revenue and into Letitia's life, then not only is the paternity confirmed in spirit, but the conspiracy to cover it up becomes financial exploitation. And that's not just a scandal, that's criminal. We also need to revisit a chilling thread some have dared to pull on. Was Letitia Mason's mother part of a larger silencing effort? Friends of the family have said she suffered in silence for years, that her health declined dramatically in the 2010s, that every time she tried to push for legal acknowledgement, she was met with letters not from JayZ, but from lawyers, threats, settlements, NDE, as we can confirm. But what we do know is this: Letitia is not asking for money now. She's asking for truth, and that scares people more than a lawsuit ever could.
This morning, rap mogul JayZ is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include JayZ. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
And let's not pretend this kind of maneuvering is new. Industry insiders have long said JayZ's real genius isn't in music, it's in strategy. He's the guy who makes problems vanish, who silences lawsuits, who buys out stories before they see daylight. That's why this Leticia situation is so dangerous. Because if even one of these financial links can be proven, if even one payment can be traced back to alias revenue and into Letitia's life, then not only is the paternity confirmed in spirit, but the conspiracy to cover it up becomes financial exploitation. And that's not just a scandal, that's criminal. We also need to revisit a chilling thread some have dared to pull on. Was Letitia Mason's mother part of a larger silencing effort? Friends of the family have said she suffered in silence for years, that her health declined dramatically in the 2010s, that every time she tried to push for legal acknowledgement, she was met with letters not from JayZ but from lawyers, threats, settlements, NDE, as we can confirm. But what we do know is this: Letitia is not asking for money now. She's asking for truth, and that scares people more than a lawsuit ever could.
As you guys are coming in that you can hear me and see me, I'm pretty sure that you can. This is some exclusive tea that I got a little while back.
What makes it more intriguing is the unresolved history between Dash and JayZ himself, their legendary fallout over Rockefeller, the battle for creative control, and the eventual split in 2004 still hang like a ghost over the hip-hop world. Dash has never been shy about dragging JayZ in interviews, especially when discussing betrayal and business ethics. But now, when his former friend and his former partner are both entangled in a DNA scandal with echoes of Alia's name, Dash seems to be ducking the spotlight entirely. Some insiders suspect legal entanglements. Others believe he's protecting his own secrets. After all, if there was even a whisper that he knew about Letitia, or if payments were made with funds tied to Rockefeller, then his silence may not be about loyalty, but liability. Then there's the question no one really wants to ask out loud. What does Damon Dash know that he's not saying? He was there during the early 2000s, as in the same rooms, on the same tours, inside the same machinery that pushed both Alia and Beyonce into global stardom. He saw how the sausage was made. If anyone had knowledge of conversations, of financial moves, of DNA whispers that were buried before they could reach the press, it would be him. And yet, his absence from the current discourse suggests something more than discomfort. It suggests containment. And in a scandal defined by silence, his might be the most revealing of all.